Hello and welcome to this video. My name is David Thorne. In the previous video we talked about property observers, and in this video we're going to be talking about observable properties. All right, now if you are new to programming or you are new to reactive programming, then this is going to be completely new to you. All right, and this is perfect. Right now, if you have already seen reactive programming and you have already seen the likes of observables and so on, just sit back and listen, because you'll still get something out of this one video. Okay, so what we're doing right now is we're just implementing pure custom code. All right, so there's nothing here that is of anything to do with any Swift frameworks, combine, anything like that. This is just us implementing this logic for us to understand how it actually works in the background. All right, and if you want to implement stuff yourself, then this is kind of how you could do it in a very, very short form. All right, so what we have here is we've got the usage. First of all, okay, we have a view, and a view has a body property, right? And when we want to display the body property, it's going to output at the moment just literally a string, and it's going to say number 4 in this sense. And the view has a couple of actions, and this could be like button presses or touch or swipes or something. So this is like any action that you might use on a visual screen or something like that. So this is all very much UI based, okay? And then once the action has happened, then the render process is going to happen here. Okay, so this is our actual like code, and this is then the screen and stuff with any buttons or keyboards. This is where that interaction is going to happen, any input output, and then finally we've got then the rendering phase. All right, very, very simple stage here. Okay, so what we've got here is that we've got a view with an increment and decrement thing here, and inside of this we've got this observable dot value. So we've got this observable value class, which we'll see in a second, and that is a generic class that takes a value, and in this instance we're going to be using an integer as that one generic type parameter. All right, and we're going to set the observable within inside of our view, and every single time we increment or decrement, we're going to increment the value by 1, or we're going to decrement the value by 1 here. Very, very simple. And then the body is going to print out string describing of the observable value. Super, super simple. But this is not observable. Right now it's just a simple class with a value, and we're just updating the value. Okay, but the important thing to note here is that our view is a struct, our observable is a class, and we can see here that let's view, and we can still change the properties inside of the class here. So we can still keep pure immutability. This is the key thing. We can keep pure immutability within inside of our struct. We don't have any mutating or anything, because we are using a class within inside of our struct. Okay, and that is permitted. So now, but what we want to be able to do is that, let's just say this is at then the view level. All right, but this is then at a lower level, where there might be other aspects of the code that might be interested when this value inside of this observable actually changes. Parts of the code that don't care about whether the visual representation of it, they don't care about it. All they want to know is when this one value changes, okay? And they want to be able to have some form of like observer and then observe, or you might have seen like sync and so on, sync, but we're not going to get into that as combined. We're going to have like say subscribe. Okay, let's just use subscribe because it's better. And when they subscribe, all they're doing, expecting, is this callback should be called with the value, and then they're going to print out subscriber value, and then this is going to be then the value. All right, and multiple elements of our application can, so let's do subscriber, and then one here, and let's just do subscriber 2 here. So multiple parts of our application are wanting to observe this, and maybe this could be, you know, the part of the rendering that knows that every single time this value is updated, they have to re-render this body. Okay, so but that's the connection between the two. This is the thing that's handling whether or not the render gets re-rendered every single time. Okay, so we could just, for the sake and purposes of this, right, we could say then render here, and inside this render we'll put this here, and then we'll say render. So it gets rendered once at least, and then every single time here we can do a render again, no problem. All right, I'll do a render again just to show you that we can. This is what this code is doing, and maybe this subscriber 2 is just listening to it. It might be logging it and so on. So now we can see that we've got some problems because this function doesn't exist. So let's come to our observable first of all, and let's implement this subscriber. It's going to be a completion handler. Okay, it's going to be escaping because we're going to have to save it because we're not going to be calling this immediately as such. And inside of here, we now want to save these completion handlers, so subscribers, and we'll create an array of them. And it's just at the moment it's going to be a callback with the value as the first parameter. And let's just change this here as well, and it'll be an empty array in the beginning. And then we can just say here subscribers and then append, and just append our completion handler to it. Super duper. That doesn't help us yet because obviously we're subscribed to this now. Observable, that's why it's called that. So now everything is running perfectly fine, and when we run it, we still get 4, right? We don't get any other subscriber 2 value, subscriber 1 value, because right now this value is being updated, but we are not notifying the subscribers with this new change in the value. So in the last video, we looked at property observers, and we can say did set in this instance. So now we want every single time this did set, we can say value was set here, and then we can say here value. And let's rerun this again, and we can see value was set 3, value was set 4. So you can see now that we've got some form of functionality within inside of our observable value class. Right, so now all we need to do is be able to go around and notify all of these subscribers. So what better function name to call this than notify? And we're going to make this a private function because we don't necessarily want people to be using our internal functionality. If you want that type of thing, then so be it. So now we can just loop through all of our subscribers, and we can get rid of most of this code, and we can just say here $0, and then we can then say value. All right, so this is then the function that we want to call, so we can just call it straight after here and say notify here, and when we run this, you see value 3 was set. This got called first of all, and then we got subscriber 1 was the first subscriber in the list. This got called it first, and then we can see we got render. All right, and the render got called because this is all sequential, so render got called, and then we can see subscriber 2 was called here, and then then the second subscriber was called, but no render was done, and then we then updated the value once again, and this all then happened a second time, and yeah, so this is exactly how it works. And that final render was this render, yeah. So this is basically now us using property observers, all right, property observers, and also observable properties, because now we're using this notify, and with inside of here we are updating this, but this value as such, we could also, with inside of our view, for example, be accessing this one value too. So let's make now a value, a value here, and let's make it value, all right, and let's just make it a type alias to value is equal to int. So we are using the same type of logic everywhere, or the same placeholder everywhere, and so this value is then going to be have a default value of 0, and when we get that one value, we are going to say then observable value, and when we set this, we're going to say observable value is equal to the new value here. Okay, and yeah, we don't need that anymore. So now, rather than setting this value, we're now just using the observable directly. So we don't necessarily need to use this increment decrement anymore. We could just say view.value plus equals 1, and then view.value I don't know, plus equals 4, and then view.value, I don't know, minus equals 1 as well. Okay, but here now we have to change the view to a let, because we're starting to set it. However, if I remember rightly, we don't actually have to do that. We can say non-mutating, and now we should be able to do it, because what we're saying by this non-mutating here, this is something new, is that we're saying, hey, we are not mutating ourselves, we are mutating something else. So let me still be immutable here. And when we run this, it still works perfectly fine. We see we go 3, and we go up to 6, and then we come down to 5, and so on. So this is another way how you can keep your structs completely immutable, but you can also have observable properties on it, and you can abstract this out. And in this sense, we then added this one observable as the we added it as the constructor and so on. But you don't have to. You might have seen in other parts of SwiftUI and so on where they have like dollar properties and so on. And that's going to come later. All right, that's a part of property wrappers. But we're going to go over this. I wanted to go through this observable value first of all, this observable pattern here, this publisher subscriber pattern, because it's really important for the future, because when we start using property wrappers, and if you don't know what a property wrapper is, you've probably in SwiftUI seen already the likes of state, or the likes of observable object and so on, or you've seen the likes of binding and so on. So these are things you need to look out for. But trust me when I say it's better that you understand property observers first of all, the getters, the setters, and also it's really super important to understand what non-mutating set does, and also what the likes of the private set var here and so on does too, what these do. But I'll be making other videos about this, and we're going to creep up, we're going to move up nice and slowly to using property observers, so property wrappers in their fullest. All right, because if you can understand property wrappers complete, then you jump over to SwiftUI and you start going, oh, wait a minute, I now understand this. And by understanding this logic, we can start using the likes of combine. All right, and combine is basically the likes of observables. It has a little bit of a different wording, but it's on the same publisher subscriber thing, and that is exactly how the likes of at bindings, if we just import SwiftUI here as a little bit of an insight, we can say at bindings, and here you can say then the likes of a binding and so on, and then you have at state, I just said it a second ago, state object, and you've got then environments. These are all basically wrappers around combine. Okay, and combine can be a little bit difficult for some people to understand. That's why SwiftUI or Apple has created the very declarative property wrappers that can wrap around all of this complexity to make it very simple for you to use. And that's where the likes of the dollar signs come into it. These are actually the projected values. This is where you get a binding back. But this is why it's really important, if you just trust me, that we're going to dig a little bit deeper on this in the next videos, okay? Because the property wrappers are really going to assist you to better understand the likes of combine. And once you understand combine, you go back to SwiftUI, SwiftUI is everywhere in macOS, iOS, and so on. So, and if you want to use Vision OS and so on, this is going to be so important that you understand SwiftUI anyway. And at one point, it's important to understand UIKit or AppKit as well. But really, fundamentally, it's more important to understand SwiftUI and how the screens are rendered and everything like that, and how reactive programming works too. With that said, I hope this video has been helpful to you. Hope you've learned something from this one video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and do all of the other social media things out there. I just want to say thank you very much for all of your support. It's fantastic, and keep it up. And I hope you're definitely learning something and you're becoming a better Swift programmer for the future. And don't forget to pass your knowledge on as well. It's all well and good you having this knowledge for yourself, but the best scientists, the best programmers are ones that can teach and explain to other people your knowledge, because that confirms to you that you've fully understood it if you can teach someone else as well. If you've got any questions, feedback, or concerns, don't hesitate to start a conversation in the comment section down below. With that said, thank you very much for watching. My name's David Thorne, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao, and goodbye.